What's up? This is your host, Non-Fungible TC, Non-Fungible Today, and Non-Fungible Tomorrow, and happy Friday! And guess what, guys? I just want to pull up this meme because it seems like FTX is, according to the new CEO in the past, a complete failure in the sense of bookkeeping and so on. So today I want to spend some time. Blockwork came up with this thread that is actually quite helpful. The new CEO of FTX has shared how FTX was internally managed, right? So the new CEO talked about the private key assets, use of company funds, how money was managed, SBF's message system, $1 billion personal loans, internal departments, and this is what he said, right? So the new CEO was saying that never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here, right? So this is a beginning statement of the bankruptcy filing, and this is actually quite big because according to Wesley lawyer, his or her favorite part about the quote that everyone is referencing is that he wasn't even required to say that in the filing, right? So as a new CEO, you don't really have to come up with your own personal opinion. But, Wesley lawyer was saying that because this thing is just so screwed up that he went all the way to say, yo, I've seen some really messed up things, but in my life, but this one is totally next level. So what is next level? So what did he say, right? Lack of systems, okay? John Ray III says that the FTX had no system, accounting, audit, cash management, cybersecurity, human resources, risk management, data protection, and all the other systems that did not exist or did not exist to an appropriate level prior to his appointment, right? So it shows you that, everything is really a mess. So FTT's loan to BlockFi, right? FTX US has made loans and investment, including a loan of FTT tokens to BlockFi. So remember, BlockFi was gonna go bankrupt, right? They stopped consumer withdrawal, but they were kind of bailed out by FTX. So what happened was that in the principal amount of FTT tokens, value of 250 million as of September 30, 2022. So basically, out of thin air, FTX US was able to, give the money to BlockFi to kind of survive, but actually the token does not have value now that we found out, right? Because it is being, leveraged upon and, used by Alameda to do some sort of trading and stuff like that. And this is just absurd because, guys, FTX is a centralized exchange. It was like it was the second or the third biggest centralized exchange, and they are heavily regulated. But unaudited financials, this thing was soon to blow up. This bubble was gonna blow up anyways, right? So Alameda Research LLC prepared consolidated financial statement on a quarterly basis, right? To John Ray's third knowledge, none of these financial statements have been audited. So this is kind of like a ticking time bomb, even without Binance saying anything, it was gonna explode anyways, right? So loan to itself, and this is absurd, right? And 3 loans by Alameda Research Limited, one to Mr. Bankman-Fried of 1 billion. So basically, they're giving loans to themselves, right? One to Mr. Singh of 543 million, and one to Ryan Salami of 55 million. So they are printing, like, first of all, they have their own token, and then with that token, they kind of have collateral, but these tokens basically don't worth anything. It's not backed by anything, and they have been giving themselves loans. And one of the most important thing that is really absurd is that at the exchange at FTX, they decide to liquidate other people. They decide to liquidate other traders when they got whacked with leverage. But if Alameda Research was actually in a position, they have a false safe that does not allow Alameda Research to get liquidated. So Alameda Research basically is the house, right? They would not lose at all. But still, they decided to screw up this time. So anyways, no board meetings. Many of the companies in the FTX group, especially those organized in the Antigua and the Bahamas, did not have appropriate corporate governance. I understand that many entities, for example, never had board meetings. And it's important to have board meetings to talk about compliance, to talk about governance, but probably they all went partying, right? So not, this is not verified, but it's just crazy, right? 659,000 worth of crypto, right? So FTX crypto asset held as par value is only 659,000. This is in contrast to Sam Bankman-Fried's claim, who said that the liquid portfolio was 900 million. So there's around a lot of money short here. So this is actually really quite crazy. So where did the money go? Because of historical cash management's failure, the debtors do not yet know the exact money of cash that the FTX group held at the petition date. So frozen withdrawal, these banking institutions have been instructed to freeze withdrawals and alerted not to accept instructions from Mr. Bankman-Fried or other signatories, right? no accounting department. The debtors do not have an accounting department and outsource this function. And there were people that say that the accounting department, right, the company that did the audit for them, was actually headquartered in the metaverse in Decentraland. So this is gonna be like a huge Netflix movie. But anyways, so who was working at FTX? At this time, the debtors were unable to provide a complete list of who worked for the FTX group as of the petition date or terms of the employment. And how were they paid? Employees of the FTX group submitted payment requests through an online chat platform where a dispatched group of supervisors approved disbursement by responding with personalized emoji. And they kind of mentioned that these chats were actually on Telegram or something like that, so that it disappears after a period of time. So none of the payments and stuff like that is being kept on record, because it's deleted afterwards. Use of funds to buy homes. I understand the corporate funds of the FTX group were used to purchase homes and other personal items for employees and advisors. No security controls or record keeping, so they did not keep appropriate books and records or security controls with respect to his digital asset, right? So Mr. Bankman-Fried and Mr. Wang control assets to digital asset to the main business in the FTX group. So there is a singularized point of view. So what happens if something happened to these people, right? All the asset is gone because no one else have bookkeeping and know how to access the fund, right? Private key assets, and this will explain the hack that I'm going to share with you shortly, which is unacceptable management practices, including the use of unsecured group email account as a root user to access confidential private key and critically sensitive data for the FTX companies around the world. And finally, the health always during the absence of daily reconciliation of positions on the blockchain, the use of software to conceal the misuse of customer funds, the secret exemption of Alameda Research from certain aspect of FTX.com's auto liquidation protocol. And finally, vanishing message. Mr. Bankman-Fried often communicated by using applications that were set to auto delete after a short period of time. And most importantly of all, encourage employees to do the same. So there is no record, there is nothing, and that's why probably Sam Bankman-Fried was trying to delete his tweets as well, because those are the records that could be used against him. A while back, I was just saying that FTX, after they declared bankrupt, someone hacked FTX and withdraw all the funds, and now the funds, the hacker is basically like the 35th biggest holder of the Ethereum blockchain, and it proves a big problem, right? Because if the hacker decides to dump the tokens and short it at some other exchanges, they can be making money, right? And that's why the market was actually very nervous. But guess what? You cannot make this up, right? What happened is that last Friday, FTX was mysteriously hacked on Friday night for over 600 million in customer fund. Just now, it was revealed that the Bahamas government ordered Sam Bankman-Fried to hack FTX and transfer them the fund, right? So this fraud is so bad as it almost seems fake. So is this true? Like, can this outrageous thing happen? Like, can this complete failure of bookkeeping and stuff like that be real? And guess what? CNBC came out with this article. FTX suggests Sam Bankman-Fried transferred assets to Bahamas government custody after bankruptcy, according to the filing, right? On yesterday's filing, it says that evidence suggests that Bahamian regulators directed former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried to gain, and look at it, the keyword is unauthorized assets, because when he decided to go bankrupt, he is no longer the CEO or co-founder, but he decided to use his private key to hack this entity's digital asset and move all of them and gave to the custody of the Bahamian government, right? And then during that time, they started dumping tokens and in order to trade ETH, right? Accusations were made by FTX in a motion in the United States Bankruptcy Court in Delaware. In that motion, FTX says that the alleged conduct puts in serious question a request by Bahamian regulator for recognition as liquidators in the bankruptcy. So, of course, you got to get back the funds and stuff like that, but that's not the way you do it, right? There's a proper procedure for bankruptcy and how funds are being distributed. And now people are saying that if you have funds in FTX, the most that you can get back is probably just 1%, because basically the funds are gone. It's being in custody of the Bahamian government. And now they're one of the 30th biggest ETH holder, right? So it's interesting. I came up with a thread today as I say that, hey, El Salvador is, pro Bitcoin. Now the Bahamian government is now pro Ethereum, I think, right? Because they hold a majority of Ethereum. So when will these governments decide on a public policy level to start hackathons based on the blockchain and maybe help people to use the blockchain to develop public infrastructures so that it could be supported by Bitcoin, it could be supported by Ethereum, right? Because they post so much of this, why not use that for public good, right? So I kind of tweeted about this, no one really replied. But anyways, moving on to our daily programming, right? Twitter offices are closed until Monday as the company deals with heavy resignation. So a lot of people are leaving Twitter. But in traditional news, I do want to share with you some news. So interestingly, Alibaba posts a surprise quarter 3 loss and barely growing revenue due to tight COVID lockdown, right? This is quite important in the global aspect. Alibaba is one of the biggest e-commerce platform in China, okay? It is the biggest one. And if they do not have any growth, it basically means that the demand in China may be not as high as we think, and it could definitely affect the global market, right? But at the same time, Gap beat Q3 profit and revenue estimate of an unexpected increase in comparable sales, right? So, yeah, what is happening in the traditional market, right? So yesterday, people were nervous that geopolitically we might have a war because of the missile, but it seems like that is back behind, the focus is now at the G20, but at the same time, Britain, we talked about that they are officially in the recession. But in general, markets, I think, is going back up. Look at the Europe market, right? They assessed the interest rate path. Yesterday, I shared that Eurozone inflation did not come as hot as expected. If you look at Asia, kind of a mixed market because Japan see core inflation highest in 40 years. So this is definitely a big deal. If you look at P-market in the US, stock future rises because to access the prospect of higher interest rate. So in general, crypto is actually holding up quite strong. The reason for this is because I think now we know that the hacker is not just random hacker of the FTX, right? The 35th largest Ethereum holder is not just a random hacker, but it is a government entity. So guys, breathe of relief, right? We can finally take a deep breath and know that, hey, there's a chance that they might not dump the market, but still we do not know what are they going to do with the funds, right? But at least we know it's just not some random hackers, okay? We kind of have identified the source of it's actually possibly Sam Bankman-Fried hacking back his previous exchange, withdrawing all the funds, giving it back, not giving it back, but giving it to the Bahamian government for custody, okay? And to be confirmed, what will happen to that? But in terms of the traditional news, I do want to share with you, the US Treasury curve is now more than 70% inverted. In the last 50 years of history, every time we have surpassed the threshold for this one, a recession followed, right? We are now 76% with the Fed still hiking rates and doing quantitative easing. And what happened is that the Fed President James Bullard just dropped a bomb yesterday. He defined the significantly restricted zone to be at minimum 5% and perhaps higher than 7%. So what is the significantly restrictive zone, right? So every time we talk about interest rate hike, this is the policy rate, right? So if you look at this chart, this is the interest rate hike that they think. So it depending on what they think. If they think that raising that hike could control the demand, could lower inflation, then they will continue doing that, right? So they have kind of like a benchmark in mind. So this is kind of like the benchmark. So recommended policy based on generous tailored. So these are some economics calculations, I think. So these are the rate recommendations, but now this is the rate hike right now. So if you continue reading this thread, right? What they're trying to say is that the policy rate is not yet in a zone that may be considered sufficiently restricted, right? So what he is saying is that, and also look at this, right? U.S. President James Bullard, we could hike interest rate above 7%. So what it is saying is that, to a certain extent, the Fed is thinking that they are not raising interest rate in a way that could damage the economy, in a sense that, because if it goes to restrictive zone, if this line goes up here, right, it basically means that the economy is going to be damaged. The demand, the supply and stuff like that will be controlled because of the interest rate hike, right? It's more expensive to borrow money. We are going to go in a decline so that inflation could be controlled. But they are saying that, we're actually not here yet, right? So it means that there's a chance that we might hike more interest rate, which is definitely bad for the market because as they hike more and more, the economy is going to be restricted, right? So what it means for this whole article is that there's a chance that they might hike interest rate hike even more. Okay, so that's basically the gist of it, right? So that's why this is a bomb, okay? But you have to really dig deep into these presentations to really find this out. So moving on, cryptocurrency market cap. Market cap right now is at 836 billion. Hovering around this level. I think it will be some time until we see back 1 trillion. We really need a bullish catalyst to see that. Bitcoin 16,764. Ethereum 1,217. Stable coins went down. So in general, the market, money is leaving the market, right? Because if stable coin is going down in terms of market cap, it means that people are not holding stables. They're just exiting the market, right? But if stable coins goes up, but cryptocurrency go down, like these crypto tokens go down, it basically means like stable coins are moving to cryptocurrency, right? So moving on, NFT news. People in the last 30 days, people are losing money. Market sentiment is cold. I think we kind of know that. Yesterday we saw that there was a dip in the blue chip index, but now it's going back up, and I do think that it has something to do with a lot of partnerships in the NFT space. So what partnerships are we seeing? Okay. Before NFT, let me continue crypto, right? So yesterday I say that Genesis is having some liquidity problem. For those of you who do not know what is Genesis, Genesis is a subsidiary of the digital currency group. So in the past, if you heard of GBTC, Grayscale, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETF that is being struck down by the SEC. So this is actually under the Grayscale digital currency group. So they have a subsidiary that is now having liquidity problem because of FTX, right? So according to HowPress, if the liability on the Genesis balance sheet and only pertain to Genesis, why would digital currency group be trying to raise 1 billion through selling their own equity to save Genesis, right? Genesis does like max 100 million of revenue. They are far worth less than 1 billion. So what HowPress is saying that beyond the surface, right? This thing might be bigger than we expected, right? Because, Grayscale say that they were not affected, but he is trying to alert that maybe Grayscale is affected and they might have to sell equities or the Bitcoin holdings that they have. And the Grayscale Bitcoin holding is actually a big portion in the market that I can share. And if they're forced to liquidate, if they're forced to dump, it's gonna cause the market to dump as well. So the answer is that the liability sits with DCG, right? And digital currency group is now at risk. Furthermore, it's not clear they are worth enough to raise the 1 billion by Monday, and that's the issue. What a mess. So what happened is that digital currency group is trying to raise 1 billion by this Monday, right? And so according to this one, if Grayscale liquidates, right, what comes on the market? 635,000 Bitcoin, which is 13.3 billion selling pressure on the open market, right? And 3.1 million Ethereum, 3.7 billion, right? So this is the Grayscale holding in the trust right now. So what Grayscale does is that institution, if they want to invest in Bitcoin, but they do not want to have their own wallet, what they'll do is that they'll buy the Grayscale Bitcoin trust, right? So Grayscale will be holding that Bitcoin trust, and then they can buy and sell the trust trading value or something like that. So that to a certain extent, institutions will have exposure towards cryptocurrency without getting their hands dirty. So that's how it works, right? But if Grayscale is having liquidity problem, if they need to dump this value of crypto, I am very sure that we can see another leg down. So anyways, I'm not going to focus on this. So yeah, Genesis sold 1 billion barrel from investors before halting withdrawals. I'm not going to go into detail. I kind of mentioned all that. I want to go on to NFT news. So Suzuki will be the first NFT to feature on a Formula 1 race car. We talked about this yesterday. MetaMask added an NFT price estimator to its portfolio value, which is powered by NFT Bank. So MetaMask is entering into the NFT space as well, providing more support, right? Highly anticipated project. Okay, I'm not going to talk about individual projects here. But KPLverse announced that former senior project manager at Electronic Art joined KPLverse as a project team lead, right? So this person has 16 years of experience in the video game industry. So we kind of can guess that the KPL project is going to be game related. That's why they're hiring someone from a AAA game or 4A game company to be a project manager, right? But I do think that, look at this, right? I just said that blue chip NFTs are doing quite well. Sappy Cereal, right? They announced that they're coming to Kellogg's US cereal box. So yesterday, Peggy Penguins, right, were the one featured on the box. Now you have Sappy Cereal. So what I think is that this is a Kellogg's limited supply collaboration, but it's very great to see all of these NFT projects be part of this. Even Sappy Cereal is part of this, right? And they have NFTs printed on the cereal box. But I'm not sure if you've seen the World Cup ad by Adidas, but Adidas also printed the 8-inch cereal box. So I just think that right now, could we be in the cereal box meta, right? So anyways, guys, overran a bit. This is your host, Non-Fungible TC. If you like the content, remember to like and subscribe. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Definitely a lot of uncertainties, but I do hope that you gain some value in here for me consolidating these news and telling you the story in a sequential way, right? Signing out.